What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another PS4 tutorial. So in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to install OrbisMan, which is a homebrew application. So we finally have a proper homebrew app. This is the first sort of substantial homebrew application that we have for the PS4. It is a beta, so it's not, not perfect. Not all of the stuff in it works yet, and there's a few bugs. But it's still great that we finally have some proper homebrew for the PS4. So I'll go over it once we have it installed, show you guys everything that it can do. So first things first, you want to go ahead and download it. So I'll put the link in the video description, and of course copy it to the root of a USB stick. So just copy it into the root of the USB, making sure of course the USB is either FAT32 or exFAT format. And then we're going to unplug the USB and plug it into our PS4. Okay, so once you're on the PS4, you want to go ahead and load up the internet browser, and of course head to our WebKit exploit. So head to 5.05 and run the Homebrew enabler so that we can actually run this program and unlock the debug settings. There we go, 1.7. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and go to settings, and of course scroll down to the debug settings and go to game, package installer, and then the packages on the USB should show up. So you should have OrbisMan beta. Just select it and it will start installing. So 200 megabytes, pretty big for a homebrew app compared to the other ones. The other homebrew apps that have been out before are more just kind of proof of concept kind of things rather than anything that's particularly useful. So here it is, OrbisMan, a dark software production. I think this was released by Lightning Mods a few days ago. But obviously it's a lot of people have worked on this. So anyway, so here is the sort of home screen that you land on initially. So there's I hope this video player, that it's not available yet because it's in beta, but when this comes out of beta and it becomes a full homebrew app, hopefully that video player will be unlocked, because that would be useful. So we've got browser. So if you select that, it just opens up the browser, nothing special there. Then you've got DKS_OS. If you run that, it's kind of like a little like a little desktop. So you can use the touch bar to control the mouse, and then you've got a few things. Now pretty much none of this works at the moment, I don't believe. Like selecting this stuff doesn't do anything. This does. You can change the theme. This is the only theme that's available right now. I guess we'll go with that. And then I don't think, can I close it? No, I can't close it. So you can see how kind of buggy this is. Oh no, you can. You just press circle. And then you've got a file manager. So this is actually quite useful. So this is something that I would actually like to see. I would like to see, us actually get something like this as a standalone homebrew application. I don't know why nobody's sort of created that yet, or maybe they have, but it's just gone under my radar. But I would like to see something like this, basically just a file manager that is its own standalone homebrew app. That would be incredibly useful, because it's annoying having to run FTP all the time because it's a second payload. So you have to run like homebrew enabler, then FTP, which is just annoying, and sometimes you'll get kernel panics running payloads back to back. So having something like this as a standalone app where you can copy and paste files, create new folders, basically like XTX menu for the 360. I came from 360 modding to PS4, so I don't know what the equivalent was in PS3, but if you don't know what XTX menu is, look it up on Xbox 360. It's basically a file manager for that's just a standalone homebrew application, something that we could really do with on the PS4, and clearly it's possible just by looking at this. So anyway, that is this little thing. Is there a way to... I actually don't know if there's a way to go back. I don't think there is, so I'm just going to go ahead and close it and reopen it. to get back out to the home screen. Okay, so here we are back on this again. So you can reboot, you can exit, and of course you've got Toolbox, which is the main thing. So if I press X on that, it'll load up the Toolbox. And here we go. So first things first, we've got music, credits. So you can enable, disable audio. Credits obviously gives credits to all the people who worked on this, of which there are quite a few. And then let's see, we've got dump kernel, dump menu, spoof target. You can spoof your firmware, UART settings. What actually comes up with UART settings? Okay, just on or off. That's useful. I don't have a UART cable connected to my PS4, so I can't really show that. You've got app DB settings, FS dump, backup music. Not entirely sure about that. Partition write protection. And then we've got our question marks, we've got load Linux, reboot to recovery, reboot or remove parental controls, update blocker light, and wipe notifications. So a few things there, and light bar, so you can change the light bar on your controller. Yep, that is actually changing, that works. So that's cool. And then another thing that you have is an FTP server that's set up automatically when you run the toolbox. So you can see in the bottom right hand corner it says the IP address is 192.168.1.115 and the FTP port is 21, which is different than the FTP payload that you run, because the FTP payload that you run normally uses port 1337. This uses port 21, which is the standard port for FTP. So that's actually quite useful, because again, running multiple payloads in the WebKit's not a great idea, because of course it can it's more likely to kernel panic or crash the WebKit and get out of memory errors when you load one payload like the Homebrew enabler and then you go to run FTP. It's more likely to crash, whereas with this you can just run the Homebrew enabler and then load up OrbisMan and use the FTP that's built into this. Let's actually see if it works if we hop over to the computer and we try loading up FileZilla here. So I'll just put in the IP address 1.115, port number 21. Yep, it works, connects, no problem. So that's awesome. So we've got that built in there as well. And another thing that's quite interesting, a lot of these look like payloads that you would find in the WebKit, like the load Linux payload. Crap, I've screwed it up again. I've lost the scroller. That happens sometimes. There's a little bug in here where it's like if you go to the left while you... I don't know what causes it exactly, but I've screwed it up, so I can't... Like, once again, I can't scroll through the menu. So it's a beta. You gotta forgive it. It's gonna have teething issues. It's gonna have a few bugs to be expected. Alright, so let's go back in here. Toolbox. Right, so a lot of these look like payloads that you'd find in the WebKit, like the spoof firmware and stuff like that. So what's good about this is that if we can have, you know, a Homebrew application that can do payloads, it's going to be a lot more stable than, you know, relying on the WebKit, because the WebKit crashes a lot, obviously. You know, you get out of memory errors, you get JavaScript errors, you get kernel panics. It might still kernel panic if you were doing payloads through some kind of Homebrew app, but you know, at least it's more likely that it's more likely to be stable running multiple payloads, like multiple things one after another, because it's not been done through the WebKit, so it's less likely to crash as much. So again, that's the kind of thing I would look for Homebrew in future, is something like this where you know, it has all the payloads, but you can execute them through this Homebrew application rather than the WebKit, which would be more stable, and having some kind of dedicated file manager app that you could quickly access as well to copy files. That would be useful. And also something that the Open Orbis team is already planning, or have been planning. I don't know if they're still working on it or if they gave up on it, or you know, I don't know if it's still in the works, but hopefully it is, which is the Open Orbis store. which was going to be kind of like the Switch App Store. If you've been following my Switch tutorials, there's a Homebrew App Store for the Switch. So basically an App Store, Homebrew application that's an App Store that has all the different Homebrew applications for the Switch. So something like that for PS4, so that you can just, you know, select what Homebrew application or emulator or whatever app it is that you want, and then you can download it through the Open Orbis store, and it will install it automatically for you, or it will install it to the hard drive so that it shows up in the package installer so you can install it. So at least that would prevent the need for having to download an app on the computer, put it on a USB, plug it into the PlayStation 4, and then install it through the debug settings every time. So it would just kind of skip all of that, which would be awesome. So which is kind of what the Homebrew App Store for the Switch does. So something like that for the PS4 would be amazing, but it definitely sounds like a pretty big project. So I don't know if they're still working on that, but yeah, hopefully they are, because that would be awesome. So anyway, that is the first proper substantial Homebrew application we have for the PS4, OrbisMan, currently in beta. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one.